Beneath the elegant streets of Paris, past the cafes and cathedrals, exists a hidden realm carved from limestone and silence. The catacombs stretch for miles, housing the skeletal remains of over 6 million souls. But within this macabre necropolis, whispers of something far more sinister persist. Bodies discovered where no one should be, deaths with no logical explanation, and paths not found on any official map. As the city above bustles with life, what unknown horrors sleep beneath its feet? Paris in the late 18th century was a city rotting from within. Beneath the grandeur of its boulevards and the elegance of its cathedrals, the stench of death festered. Overcrowded cemeteries had become more than just a public nuisance. They were a genuine threat to health and hygiene. The Cemetery of the Innocents, located near Les Halles, was one of the worst offenders. For centuries, bodies had been heaped there, layer upon layer, until the soil itself seemed saturated with the scent of decay. In summer, the stench wafted into neighboring homes. In winter, groundwater filtered through the graves and into the city's wells. Something had to change. The solution, both radical and practical, was to unearth the dead. City officials decided to exhume entire cemeteries and relocate the remains underground, but not into ordinary crypts or vaults. Instead, the chosen destination was a far older labyrinth, the ancient limestone quarries beneath the city. These quarries, once used to harvest the stone that built Paris's most iconic structures, had long since been abandoned. Crumbling, vast, and barely mapped, they offered a grim but suitable home for the dead. Beginning in 1785, the task commenced. Under the cover of darkness, wagons draped in black cloth made their way through the streets. Each cart was filled with bones, skulls, femurs, ribs, all jumbled together, remnants of lives long forgotten. Priests accompanied each convoy, chanting prayers over the remains in a solemn ritual that merged reverence with necessity. The process continued for years, transferring the contents of mass graves and burial plots into the subterranean world. By the early 1800s, the ossuary had become a sprawling necropolis. The workers, perhaps as a means of coping with their grim task, began to arrange the bones into patterns. Walls of skulls framed by tibiae, archways built from femurs, and even symbolic crosses and hearts fashioned from human remains. These displays were not merely artistic, they were a testament to mortality, a reminder that beneath the surface all distinctions fade. Kings and beggars, soldiers and saints all reduced to the same mute matter. While portions of the catacombs were eventually opened to the public as a curiosity, the vast majority of the tunnels remained sealed off. These uncharted stretches extend over 200 miles, weaving beneath the city in a tangled, shifting maze. Some corridors collapse into pools of stagnant water, others open into echoing chambers with no clear end. Many were never mapped. Even today, new areas are discovered, some entirely forgotten by official records, others deliberately concealed. The catacombs became more than a solution to urban decay. They became part of the soul of Paris. Artists, poets, and philosophers were drawn to the ossuary, fascinated by its morbid beauty. Revolutionaries held secret meetings there during times of unrest. Resistance fighters during World War II used the tunnels to outmaneuver the occupying German forces. The dead, silent as ever, bore witness to each moment, but not all who entered would return. As the catacombs grew, so did the myths. Stories began to circulate of those who entered the forbidden areas and vanished. Some spoke of strange lights flickering deep in the tunnels, of distant footsteps that never approached, of whispers in the dark. It was easy to get lost in the maze. There were no landmarks, no sunlight, no sense of time. Panic set in quickly, orientation faded. And those who ran often ran in circles until their lights died and the silence swallowed them. Over time, these tales evolved into something darker. Not just of explorers losing their way, but of people being found. Bodies curled in corners of the catacombs where no map marked a passage, where no tunnel should have led. The dead in these accounts were not ancient skeletons. They were recent. Some bore signs of trauma. Others were simply left in places that no one should have been able to access. Their presence defied explanation. The city has always been careful with its official narrative. The public sections of the catacombs are carefully maintained and secured. The unsanctioned areas, however, are a different story. Urban explorers known as cataphiles began mapping these forbidden zones in the late 20th century, creating hand-drawn guides passed secretly between trusted circles. Police patrols intensified, fines were issued, entrances were bricked up, but curiosity, as always, found a way in. Today, despite heavy regulation, the catacombs remain a realm of duality, a place of ordered history and chaotic secrecy. The ossuary is a monument to mortality, yes, but beyond the lantern-lit arches, Paris hides a second self, one that is darker, colder, and filled with questions no one has dared to answer publicly. The bones were meant to rest here, but not all who ended up in the catacombs were meant to stay, and some, it seems, were never meant to be found. By the early 19th century, the catacombs beneath Paris had grown into something far greater than an ossuary. They had become a world unto themselves, a realm of the forgotten, populated by silence and shadow. And within that world, strange disappearances began to be whispered about. Not the bodies carried by night in black draped wagons, nor the centuries-old bones arranged into walls of death, but people from the surface, living souls, who entered the darkness and never returned. The most enduring name among these lost is Philibert Aspert. He had no fame in life, no grand reputation. He was a doorkeeper at a military hospital. On a cold November day in 1793, during the height of revolutionary fever, he descended into the tunnels through a staircase hidden within the hospital's grounds. No one knows what he was seeking. Some speculate he followed an underground corridor in pursuit of rumoured stores of liquor, while others believe he was simply lured by the labyrinth itself. What is certain is that he did not return. 11 years passed before his body was found. It lay just steps from an exit, a cruel irony, as if the catacombs had taken him, only to deposit his remains where he had nearly escaped. His hospital keyring was still looped through his belt, his bones undisturbed in the place where he had fallen. A plaque marks the site now, far from public view, in a section few are permitted to see. Over time, Philibert's name became something more than a historical footnote. He became a symbol of the catacombs' quiet power, its ability to consume, to hold, and to erase. But Philibert was not the only one. In the decades that followed, others disappeared. Few with such clarity, most without any trace at all. Sometimes it was a name on a missing persons list. Sometimes it was a rumor passed between locals or cataphiles, those who risked fines and arrest to wander the forbidden tunnels with hand-drawn maps and flashlights. Some stories began with a shout heard in the distance, an echo that was never followed by footsteps. Others ended with belongings found near a tunnel wall, a camera still clutched in a hand, its memory card full of darkness. The deeper sections of the catacombs, the ones that sprawl in tangled veins beneath the outer arrondissements, are especially treacherous. Entire zones are waterlogged, their stone floors replaced with black, motionless pools. Others have ceilings ready to collapse at the lightest touch. And yet these are the places that draw the curious, the seekers of mystery, the thrill-hungry, and the spiritually fascinated. In the late 20th century, the catacombs became something of an underground subculture. Graffiti artists, musicians, and urban explorers descended into the tunnels with portable speakers and spray cans, transforming certain sections into hidden galleries and gathering spaces. These cataphiles rarely traveled alone, not out of caution, but out of unspoken understanding. No one wanted to be the next story. Even the most experienced explorers admit that something about the catacombs shifts over time. Maps become outdated. Passages that were once clear are suddenly blocked. Others open into new chambers that defy their recorded layout. This shifting nature makes orientation nearly impossible once landmarks vanish. The darkness becomes a predator, slowly wrapping around those who lose their way. Batteries die. Paths double back. The mind, deprived of sensory input, begins to conjure things. Reports of disembodied voices are not uncommon among those who've ventured deep. Not ghosts exactly, but the feeling of being watched, of someone just beyond the reach of light. Some describe a sensation of time slowing, of minutes stretching into hours. The pressure of stone from all sides, the knowledge that hundreds of feet of earth lie above, becomes suffocating. More than one explorer has emerged from the tunnels changed, speaking of a presence they could never quite describe. Authorities have tried to impose control. Entrances have been sealed, patrols increased, fines stiffened. But the network is simply too vast. There are hidden points of access scattered across the city, some through basements, others beneath manhole covers or subway vents. No amount of legislation can keep out those determined to descend. And still, people disappear. Some are found. 2 teenagers in the early 2000s were lost for over 72 hours, eventually discovered by search dogs in a partially collapsed section far from any mapped tunnel. They were cold, dehydrated, and terrified, but alive. Their story made headlines, but many others do not. There are those whose bodies are discovered in places they had no business being, their names unfamiliar, their presence unexplained. No missing persons report, no family looking, just a corpse nestled among bones centuries older, as if the catacombs had absorbed them into its archive of the dead. Medical examiners are occasionally called to these scenes. Official explanations follow: exposure, misadventure, suicide, but never with certainty. The press mentions it briefly, then moves on. But among the cataphiles, and even some within the Parisian police, there's a quiet understanding that not every story from beneath the city can be tidily explained. Some vanish because they were foolish, yes. Some because they were reckless. But others because they stumbled into something they should not have seen. Philibert Aspert's keyring was still on his belt when they found him. He had walked within meters of the exit before the darkness closed in. To this day, no one knows how he got lost so deeply, or why it took over a decade to find him. And no one can explain the others, those who joined the dead, not with ceremony, but with silence. They say the dead rest quietly in the catacombs, but nothing about that place is quiet for long. Beyond the neatly arranged skulls and the curated paths of the ossuary open to tourists, lies something far more chaotic. It is a realm where the rules shift without notice, where darkness is not just the absence of light, but a living force of its own. Those who dare stray from the sanctioned areas speak of more than just the cold or the silence. They speak of a subtle hostility, of a space that seems to resist being known. The catacombs were never designed to be navigated. They are not planned roads, but ancient arteries carved from centuries of quarrying, reinforced by necessity and forgotten when the city moved on. Passageways slope at odd angles, abruptly narrow to tight crawls, or suddenly drop into unmarked voids. There are walls of crushed stone held up by the memory of pressure, and ceilings that drip with unseen leaks. Entire sections have collapsed over time, creating dead zones where maps are useless and no path leads back. This disrepair is more than aesthetic, it is lethal. In the past decade alone, dozens of undocumented collapses have occurred deep in the off-limits zones. These aren't seismic events that shake the surface, they are silent caving-ins, triggered by age and gravity. No announcement, no rescue, just sudden entombment. Survivors are rare. The unlucky are buried beneath layers of rock and ancient bones. Their stories extinguished in an instant. The dangers aren't only geological. The psychological toll of navigating the deep catacombs is something no official pamphlet warns about. Cataphiles, those seasoned enough to explore the illegal sections, report a sense of being watched. It isn't superstition or a love of the dramatic, it is a shared experience described in eerily consistent ways. After hours underground, something changes. The air, already heavy, begins to press. Time feels elastic. Minutes stretch or vanish entirely. Some explorers report returning with no memory of key moments. Others remember too much, details of rooms that upon return no longer exist. One explorer, a former firefighter known in the underground community for his methodical mapping, vanished during what was supposed to be a routine descent. His plan was to chart a side tunnel believed to reconnect with a previously explored sector. His last known location was marked with a red symbol on the limestone wall, his signal for others to follow. When a search was conducted days later, the red mark was still there, but the tunnel beyond had collapsed. His body was never recovered, and no one could explain how an area recently traversed had caved in so completely. Even those who survive often return changed. Some emerge in states of near catatonia, unwilling or unable to speak of what they've encountered. Others never descend again. In one rare instance, a well-known explorer returned shaking and drenched in sweat, insisting he had heard music low and slow coming from a corridor he knew led to a wall. He had followed it, disoriented, until he realized he had looped 3 times through the same junction without realizing it. There was no music, of course. At least none he could prove. The deeper sections are also home to natural hazards that defy casual exploration. Pools of stagnant water collect in depressions along the floor, some shallow, others deceptively deep. More than one explorer has stumbled into what appeared to be a puddle, only to find themselves waist-deep in freezing, unmapped cisterns. These flooded areas can be invisible until it's too late. There are no railings, no markers, just water as dark as the stone around it, and a sudden drop beneath your feet. Then there is the air itself. In most parts of the catacombs, the air is merely stale, humid, and heavy. But in the deepest levels, where airflow is nearly non-existent, oxygen can drop to dangerous levels. Gases such as carbon dioxide build up without warning. Dizziness, disorientation, and nausea follow. Cataphiles sometimes carry canaries or small oxygen monitors, not out of paranoia, but necessity. One lapse in judgment, one wrong turn, and the darkness doesn't need to close in. It will simply let you drift into sleep. Authorities have long struggled with how to manage this underworld. Efforts to block entrances are often symbolic. Brick walls are knocked down within days, manholes are reopened, basements reconnected. There is a thriving subculture in Paris that sees the catacombs not as forbidden, but as a right. Territory to be explored, claimed, and recorded. But even among the most defiant cataphiles, a code of caution exists. You do not go alone. You do not take new routes without a backup plan. And you do not, under any circumstances, follow voices. Because the stories of voices do exist. Low whispers that sound like language but never form words. Footsteps that mirror your own exactly until they do not. Breathing that does not match your pace. These tales are dismissed by skeptics as tricks of acoustics or the mind, but the pattern is consistent. When the silence grows too deep, something else fills it. Something that makes even the most rational minds quicken their steps. And perhaps that is the true unseen danger. Not the collapsing stone, not the drowning void, not even the toxic air. It's the quiet, insistent realization that the catacombs are not just a place, but an intelligence, or a presence. Not one that acts with purpose, but one that resists understanding. The longer you stay, the more it knows you. The more you try to map it, the more it shifts. And the more certain you are of your route, the more likely you are to be wrong. Many who enter the catacombs do so believing in control of their gear, their maps, their rational mind. But in the deep zones, control is a fiction. There are places down there where even the bravest fall silent, places where even the dead seem cautious to rest. Beneath the surface of Paris lies a clandestine world, a vast network of tunnels and chambers, known to a select few as the Forbidden Zones. These areas, hidden from the public eye, are the domain of the cataphiles, urban explorers who navigate the labyrinthine passages that stretch for hundreds of kilometers beneath the city. While the official catacombs offer a curated glimpse into this subterranean realm, the Forbidden Zones remain shrouded in mystery and danger. Accessing these hidden areas is no simple feat. Secret entrances are scattered throughout Paris, often concealed in plain sight. Manhole covers, abandoned basements, and forgotten sewer passages serve as gateways to the underworld. The cataphiles, ever resourceful, have mapped these entry points, sharing their knowledge through whispered conversations and cryptic notes. Once inside, the explorers find themselves in a world untouched by time, where the echoes of history linger in the damp air. The Forbidden Zones are a testament to the city's complex past. Originally carved as limestone quarries, these tunnels provided the stone that built Paris. Over the centuries, they evolved into a subterranean maze, repurposed for various uses, including clandestine gatherings and artistic expression. Within these hidden chambers, cataphiles have created murals, sculptures, and even entire cinemas, transforming the space into a living gallery of underground culture. Yet the allure of the Forbidden Zones comes with significant risks. Navigating the uncharted passages requires not only physical endurance, but also mental fortitude. The tunnels are treacherous, with unstable ceilings, sudden drops, and areas prone to flooding. Without proper preparation, explorers can easily become disoriented, lost in the darkness with no clear path to safety. The cataphiles, aware of these dangers, adhere to a strict code of conduct, emphasizing the importance of caution and respect for the underground environment. Despite the perils, the forbidden zones continue to captivate those drawn to the unknown. The cataphiles, driven by curiosity and a desire for discovery, delve deeper into the labyrinth, uncovering forgotten histories and forging new narratives within the shadows. Their journeys are not merely physical explorations, but also introspective quests, challenging their perceptions of space, time, and existence. As we contemplate the mysteries of the forbidden zones, we are reminded of the delicate balance between curiosity and caution. The catacombs, in all their hidden complexity, serve as a mirror to our own inner landscapes, reflecting the depths we are willing to explore in search of meaning and connection. There are places where history is remembered, and there are places where it lingers, alive, restless, and unburied. The forbidden zones of the Paris catacombs are not simply remnants of a city's past. They are memory made physical. Every step through the uneven corridors brings you face to face with time itself, compressed into walls, trapped in inscriptions, and buried in dust, never disturbed by daylight. This is not history written by victors or preserved in museums. It is the history that was hidden, suppressed, or forgotten. Echoes left behind in the silence of stone. Unlike the curated sections filled with neatly stacked bones and Latin inscriptions, the deeper catacombs tell stories in different tongues. Graffiti from past centuries, names etched by workers long dead, political slogans scrawled in chalk that has never seen rain. There are wartime messages carved haphazardly into limestone during moments of fear and defiance. In one narrow corridor, a sequence of markings indicates the route once used by members of the French resistance during World War II. They moved beneath the feet of German soldiers, operating communication hubs and weapon caches far from enemy eyes. In these passages, silence was survival, and memory became weaponized. Even now, some of their symbols remain, a secret language meant only for those who knew how to read it. In other chambers, the remnants of older rituals can still be found. Strange altars made of bone and candle wax. Animal skulls placed with deliberate care, circles of stones that suggest something more than idle decoration. Some explorers speak of rooms where the acoustics shift inexplicably, where whispers travel the walls like breath. These aren't places found on any map. They are stumbled upon, and once seen, they are not easily forgotten. The catacombs have also absorbed the sorrow of those buried above. During the French Revolution, the city was in turmoil. Executions were frequent, the guillotine never far from work. Cemeteries swelled. In the chaos, many remains were transported to the catacombs in haste, without ceremony. Entire carts of bones were emptied into chasms, identities erased, stories dissolved. But some believe that the energy of those violent deaths lingers here, unsettled. Certain areas feel different, even to seasoned cataphiles. Not colder, just heavier. As though the walls remember, as though the space itself mourns. There are accounts from explorers who claim to have heard voices not hallucinatory, but deliberate. One spoke of footsteps following his group through a tunnel too narrow for anyone else to enter. Another described a soft rhythmic tapping that repeated at precise intervals, as if something was being measured. But there were no pipes above, no vibrations from the metro lines, just stone and silence. These reports are always dismissed in the light of day. But underground, in the depth of those tunnels, doubt does not last long. Even more unsettling are the discovered artifacts that defy simple explanation. Personal items, rings, broken glasses, a child's shoe, found in chambers where no recorded access should be possible. Sometimes they lie beside piles of bones that were never officially moved. Other times they are half buried in the dust, as though dropped in haste. There is no pattern, no context, just objects without stories, left in a place where time refuses to move forward. In the oldest parts of the catacombs, the architecture itself speaks of forgotten ages. Certain arches bear chisel marks different from the rest of the quarry network, suggesting construction techniques lost to time. There are rooms with no known entrance, sealed chambers discovered only when collapse or erosion reveals them. Some contain human remains, arranged in ways that do not match the ossuary's organization. These are not the symmetrical bone walls designed by Parisian workers in the 19th century. These are more chaotic, layered, and intentional, as if someone placed them with ritualistic purpose. There are urban legends, of course. Stories pass between cataphiles, whispered late at night in smoke-filled gatherings above ground. They speak of a hidden sect that once operated beneath the city, conducting ceremonies in the deepest rooms. No photographs exist, only drawings, only rumors. But every community has its myths. What makes these stories unsettling is that the places they describe, rooms shaped like amphitheaters, corridors marked by symbols not found in any known language, have been found. Not always matching perfectly, but close enough to raise questions. The echoes of the past in the catacombs are not limited to physical artifacts or inscriptions. They live in the behaviors of those who explore them. Even the most rational visitors often change in subtle ways after a deep descent. They speak less. They return slower. Some lose interest in returning altogether. Others become obsessed, mapping, recording, returning night after night in search of something they cannot name. For a few, the catacombs offer a kind of communion, a place where the boundaries between past and present, between the self and the city, begin to blur. In rare cases, people have emerged from the depths, speaking of vivid dreams. Dreams that come days later, filled with faces they do not recognize and voices they cannot place. Dreams of wandering in a city that is both Paris and not, guided by those long dead. These experiences are never shared publicly. They are told in hushed tones, cautiously, as if speaking them too clearly might make them real again. Perhaps that is the truest danger of the catacombs, not the structural risks or the suffocating darkness, but the memories they refuse to let die. The past here is not buried. It waits, it watches, it remembers. In these forbidden corridors, time folds. The bones are not simply relics, they are reminders. And the echoes you hear as you move deeper are not tricks of sound. They are the voices of the city's soul, layered, restless, and unwilling to be forgotten. While the ossuary is a well-known tourist attraction, there exists a deeper, more secretive realm explored by a group known as the cataphiles. These urban explorers venture into the forbidden zones of the catacombs, drawn by curiosity, a sense of adventure, and a desire to uncover the city's hidden history. The cataphiles are a diverse community, united by their fascination with the subterranean world. Some are artists, transforming the walls of the catacombs into canvases for their work. Others are historians, mapping the tunnels and documenting their findings. There are also those who seek solitude or a break from the surface world, finding peace in the quiet darkness beneath the city. Accessing the forbidden zones is illegal and dangerous. Entrances are hidden throughout the city, often in plain sight. Manholes, abandoned buildings, and secret passages provide entry points for those who know where to look. Once inside, the cataphiles navigate the maze-like tunnels, relying on maps, experience, and sometimes sheer luck to find their way. The catacombs are not just a network of tunnels, they are a living, breathing entity. The walls are adorned with graffiti, murals, and sculptures, evidence of the cataphiles' presence and creativity. Some areas have been transformed into makeshift cinemas, concert halls, and gathering spaces, hosting secret events known only to those in the know. Despite the risks, the cataphiles are dedicated to preserving the catacombs. They organize cleanup efforts, removing trash and debris left by careless visitors. They also share knowledge and resources, helping newcomers navigate the complex and often treacherous terrain. For many, the catacombs are more than just a place to explore. They are a community, a way of life, and a connection to the city's past. The cataphiles' activities have not gone unnoticed by authorities. Police patrols, known as Catacombs, regularly search for illegal explorers, and fines for trespassing can be steep. However, the cataphiles are adept at evading detection, using their knowledge of the tunnels to stay one step ahead. Some even see the catacombs as a form of resistance, a way to reclaim space in a city that often feels over-regulated and commercialized. The allure of the catacombs lies in their mystery and the sense of freedom they offer. In a world increasingly dominated by surveillance and conformity, the forbidden zones represent a space where individuals can express themselves without judgment or constraint. They are a reminder that beneath the surface of the city, there exists a hidden world waiting to be discovered. As the cataphiles continue to explore and document the catacombs, they contribute to a living history of Paris. Their stories, art, and experiences add new layers to the city's rich tapestry. ensuring that the catacombs remain a place of wonder, danger, and inspiration for generations to come. The cataphiles are a diverse community, united by their fascination with the subterranean world. Some are artists, transforming the walls of the catacombs into canvases for their work. Others are historians, mapping the tunnels and documenting their findings. There are also those who seek solitude or a break from the surface world, finding peace in the quiet darkness beneath the city. Accessing the forbidden zones is illegal and dangerous. Entrances are hidden throughout the city, often in plain sight. Manholes, abandoned buildings, and secret passages provide entry points for those who know where to look. Once inside, the cataphiles navigate the maze-like tunnels, relying on maps, experience, and sometimes sheer luck to find their way. The catacombs are not just a network of tunnels, they are a living, breathing entity. The walls are adorned with graffiti, murals, and sculptures, evidence of the cataphiles' presence and creativity. Some areas have been transformed into makeshift cinemas, concert halls, and gathering spaces, hosting secret events known only to those in the know. Despite the risks, the cataphiles are dedicated to preserving the catacombs. They organize cleanup efforts, removing trash and debris left by careless visitors. They also share knowledge and resources, helping newcomers navigate the complex and often treacherous terrain. For many, the catacombs are more than just a place to explore. They are a community, a way of life, and a connection to the city's past. The cataphiles' activities have not gone unnoticed by authorities. Police patrols regularly search for illegal explorers, and fines for trespassing can be steep. However, the cataphiles are adept at evading detection, using their knowledge of the tunnels to stay one step ahead. Some even see the catacombs as a form of resistance, a way to reclaim space in a city that often feels over-regulated and commercialized. The allure of the catacombs lies in their mystery and the sense of freedom they offer. In a world increasingly dominated by surveillance and conformity, the forbidden zones represent a space where individuals can express themselves without judgment or constraint. They are a reminder that beneath the surface of the city, there exists a hidden world waiting to be discovered. As the cataphiles continue to explore and document the catacombs, they contribute to a living history of Paris. Their stories, art, and experiences add new layers to the city's rich tapestry, ensuring that the catacombs remain a place of wonder, danger, and inspiration for generations to come. The catacombs of Paris are not merely a monument to the dead, they are a reflection of everything we fear, everything we bury, and everything we're drawn to in the silence of the unknown. They hold no clocks, no seasons, no rules, only time stacked upon time, memory etched into stone, and bones arranged by anonymous hands. For centuries, people have wandered into the dark beneath the city, some seeking art, others answers, a few never to return. The catacombs do not offer conclusions. They do not give closure. What they offer is presence, a haunting stillness that watches and waits. Perhaps that is why they continue to pull at us, not because we hope to understand them, but because we are trying to understand ourselves.